Welcome back to another F1 podcast with Blake Buettner. I'm your host, Wesley Smith, and today Blake and I discuss the summer break, the Dutch Grand Prix, as well as look forward to the 2026 season. Thank you so much for listening, and please enjoy this Formula One edition of the Standard H podcast.
I like to be in places that have all four seasons that are like distinct seasons.
Yes.
This is why, honestly, this is like my favorite thing about Wisconsin, where I grew up.
I was about to say, yeah.
Every season is like, it's very much its own thing. And New York's got like a little bit of that, which I appreciate.
Yeah, I mean, in North Carolina, it was definitely 4 seasons as I grew up, but then as I got older into college and such, it just felt like summer blended into winter, which blended into summer, and it was like it was either hot or it was cold, and that was it. There was no spring or fall in between layers, that kind of thing.
Yeah, it's like a 10-minute sliver in the evening where it's comfortable.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And you're eating dinner at that hour, so you're not even outside to enjoy it. So, it's a fickle thing, the weather. But good to see you as always. Yeah. I can't believe Hadjar, which we'll get to. That was incredible. Why don't we just kind of rewind? I probably should have gone back and listened to our last episode just to be sure of what we've covered pre-break, but...
Well, it's like, I feel like this whole season, looking back at it after the break, it's kind of like, it's maybe a season you don't need to really get too down in the weeds with, because it's been a pretty dominant season from McLaren. There have been really only 2 cars outside of McLaren's that have won races, and even in those races, the McLarens are right there as well. So, it's in terms of the manufacturers championship, it's a clear kind of runaway. And then you just hope for something like maybe entertaining from the other drivers on the weekend. I will say the one saving grace of this season, looking at it as a whole, has been the very tight midfield. And I say the midfield almost goes all the way back to the bottom, because we've had Sauber's up there. We've had Aston recently kind of getting up there and having good results. It feels like, once you get beyond the Mercedes, Ferrari, and Verstappen, and even sometimes not even that far, it's anybody's game. So the midfield, this has been one of the most competitive seasons for a midfield that I remember.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know, maybe it's just in my brain because of what you just said, but you sort of see that from time to time during these qualifyings, because, the separation between first and second is obviously thousandths of a second. And then, gone, I feel are the days of almost a whole second between cars between first and, 20th.
Yeah, it's incredibly tight, and it feels like it's a lot of Q2 capable cars.
Yeah,
and then it's not like, it's probably going to be these 5 or 6 guys that are going to be out in Q1 anymore. Now it's kind of I don't know.
Yeah,
it could be those 5 guys, or any one of those 5 guys could be up in the top 6 or 7. So it's that has made the season, fun. That has been where I'm finding fun in the season, and then of course seeing some of the rookies have their ups and downs. Hadjar, as you mentioned, of course, and I'm sure we'll get to that. So
yeah,
rough season to be a Ferrari fan, though.
Oh my gosh, man, don't
sorry to bring it up.
Don't mention it. I'm a Ferrari guy. It's frustrating to say the least, and especially this last race. I saw a headline, but I didn't have time to read it. Did you see that where it said Kimi was scared because of the incident with Leclerc? Did you see anything like this?
I did not see this. I only saw, Toto kind of commenting look, those are the kinds of moves that we want to see him trying to do.
Right.
And if he handled it a little ham-fistedly this time, he learned that, but he wants him to have that the killer instinct or whatever. He for Toto to kind of express, I don't mind him doing that kind of stuff.
Right.
He can get away with doing it sloppy once or twice, but that's the kind of thing that he needs to be trying to do, I guess, just in a cleaner way. But no, I did not see. So tell me about this.
Well, I mean, it was just a headline, literally, and I wish I had time to read it this morning, but it was something like Kimi claims that he's scared based on Leclerc incident or something, and
See,
I
I
guess
feel
it
like
was just kind of like a because obviously Kimi is not perform. I think there's like some insecurities there, and maybe lacking the killer instinct. I think to Toto's point, if I were in Toto's shoes, it's like, look, man, if you're gonna damage a car, just do it winning, but don't
yeah.
get the car damaged with like trying to be too careful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and I think that was his point by saying that. Like,
Right.
look, it's okay to be like going for moves and stuff like this, but what are we learning all the time? Yeah, Mercedes is a really interesting case study this year, and frankly, I think they're an interesting case study for this entire regulation set that started in 2022, because they've kind of been like all over the map in terms of figuring out a correlation between what they see in their data simulations and what they're getting on track. And this season has been particularly interesting for them because they've had some of those ups and downs. Kimi has shown flashes of brilliance. He's been on the podium. George won a race.
Yeah.
He and Max are the only two non-McLaren drivers that have won a race, and George is certainly one of them. They've had issues with keeping the rear tires kind of in this like in a zone where they're performing where they need to perform, and they brought them a suspension upgrade to their car that was kind of put it in an anti-lift configuration in an attempt to keep the tires kind of in this neutral place. And this is what, of course, the drivers were like. It took away their feel for when the tires are losing grip coming into a corner. So that was like kind of a vital part of the feeling of the car that was taken away. So then they are reverting back and fix. So it's just been one of those seasons for them, where they're trying these different things, which you have to do, and it's been like the story of their entire regulation set for them, where they try all these different things and they just don't quite work the
Yeah.
way that they're envisioning. And I think there's a lot of teams that you could maybe say similar things for. We've seen Aston kind of have these same kind of ups and downs throughout this regulation set, and McLaren's the only one that's really kind of like figured out something that's like just worked from top to bottom.
Yeah. And so speaking of regulations, where do you think we'll be next year?
This is what I'm very excited about. So I think next year's cars are going to be less aero dependent.
Mm-hmm.
And my only concern is, the hybrid systems, the engine, like, are they going to be, fully zipped up by the time that we get into next season? Maybe not. I think that's going to take some tweaking. I think I wouldn't be surprised to see some changes throughout the season, or maybe it takes a season to kind of get a feeling for how the regulation set with this new power units is going to work out.
Yeah.
And that's okay, but I'm really curious about like Red Bull, for instance, who've had Honda, of course, is a great partner. They won a lot of championships with them. Of course, they're moving over to Ford to help them develop their own power units. Who knows how that's going to go, And then you look at the customer cars with like Mercedes, and then of course they have these customer cars, McLaren notably. Are they going to nail it right out of the gates? It's just kind of all up in the air. And I think that's the most fun part, because last time it wasn't like that. It was kind of, it was more like, okay, we're changing some of the aero bits and bobs and stuff like that. But this time it's like a full on, it's a full on clean slate, I think, for a lot of these cars.
It's interesting with Cadillac coming in, obviously, and they're
Yeah.
going to be a GM motor, right?
Not off the bat.
Are they
They will.
Ferrari?
They'll be using a Ferrari engine, and then they will be looking. I think the goal is 27 to 29, something like that, of bringing their own power unit.
Okay, yeah. I was like, it was either Ferrari or their own, and now yes, you're jogging my memory. Where it's interesting to have like eventually a Ford and a GM motor being on the grid eventually. Like that's just kind of an interesting thing to
Yeah,
think about. And the
yeah.
fact that, I mean, Haas is considered an American team, no? Or is it
Well,
sort of this
they're
like
based in
split?
America, so
Yeah,
yes, but they have
Ferrari
facilities
engine.
in the UK, and of course they're using the Ferrari engine. But a lot of the talent, a lot of the engineering teams that they use, they are in kind of that not too far from Silverstone, I think, where quite a few teams are kind of
Woking
based
or
around
whatever.
there.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of funny because I heard somebody on an F1 broadcast the other day say, "Oh man, it'll be so exciting to have an American team," and I was just kind of like, not exactly scratching my head, but I was like, "Wait, are we just like forgetting about Haas, or is this just not considered
Yeah,
an
I
American
would put
team?"
it as like an American manufacturer,
Okay, okay,
like as Cadillac, right? Because Haas
sure,
is, you know,
right.
it's not like you can go to a Haas dealer and buy a Haas car or anything
Oh,
like
sure,
that.
sure,
So,
sure.
so in that sense, yes, and I feel like, Graham Loden, who's leading the efforts over there, I think they're going about it the right way. They've had a lot of like mock race weekends leading up to this. They're going to be, quote unquote, renting a car from another team to kind of get some test miles on. Um, and I love the move of getting a couple of highly experienced drivers under their belt.
Yeah, I think it kind of not. It wasn't a no-brainer, but it was a smart move. Do you know what I mean?
So I know that there's this all this hype around a lot of these young drivers, and of course some American drivers that are maybe currently serving in IndyCar or other series, and then guys like Mick Schumacher.
Yeah,
Yeah, there was a lot of options, I think, for them to take, and I think they made the smartest move by getting two very experienced drivers that will help them develop the program to where it needs to be.
totally.
I don't think they have expectations to come in and like be making an impact in the midfield or fighting for wins or anything like that. They have to lay the groundwork, and I think the best way to do that is to have really experienced drivers who understand what they're getting into. And of course, Sergio and Valtteri understand this, and they're excited about helping lay the foundations of a successful program over a long period of time. So I applaud their decision with getting them.
Yeah, and another thing that just was sort of an ancillary observation was just the fact that like neither driver was really ever a number one driver. So they were both sort of always a number two in a
Yeah,
way.
it's interesting that you're absolutely right. Neither of them, but they both are very capable drivers, and they've both been number two drivers on
Very
top tier teams,
successful
on
teams, yes.
extremely
Yeah.
successful
Yeah.
teams. So, I think and they're both race winners, and at their best, they were up there fighting for wins, fighting for pole positions. So these were in recent memory, like maybe aside from whatever you call Oscar and Lando right now, because there really is no number two driver, like those two guys come to mind as like the standard of like a great number two driver
Hmm.
for a top tier team.
Totally. Totally.
So I like what they're doing.
Do you want to talk about Zandvoort?
We we can talk about Zandvoort. Yeah, this was coming in hot off of the summer break, right? Yeah, yeah. You could we could step back and say these seasons are a lot longer now than they ever have been. So it's like you can feel this tension like kind of ratcheting up maybe with some of the drivers that just kind of seem like they're over it a little bit coming into the summer break. So it's a much needed like few weeks off that they can get reset. Lewis I think was a big one of these guys that needed that like more than maybe anybody. And
Yeah.
you come in and he talks about, okay, I'm in a different kind of mindset and I'm doing these different things behind the scenes. And then it kind of comes out of the blocks. And I will say, like, Lewis in particular, like, he looked great all weekend. He was in front of Leclerc, I think, every practice session and every qualifying session except for the very last one.
Hmm.
It looked like, okay, he's in a better zone now. You hope that all the guys are kind of in that like refresh state, and then things just started to kind of go south for a lot of people in like very weird ways.
Yeah.
Like I think that little bit of rain that started to come, and it was kind of in this like will it or won't it stage, and all these drivers were kind of like, okay, we're gonna have to get our strategy right. What's it gonna be like? And then it never really materialized, and I don't know. The whole race was kind of like a tease a little bit because of that.
Yeah. Well, and also just like the conditions of that track are, it's right next to the beach. You can
Yeah.
get some wind, obviously. I don't know, who knows? Water on the track, sand on the track. Like you can,
Yeah, a
it's
little bit of
kind of,
moisture on the track, especially, and there's a lot of painted areas on the track, especially turn three. So I think that's what kind of caught Lewis out, is that just a very slightly damp painted section that he had his rear wheel up on that, that it just kind of understeered and plowed into plowed into the
that's
edge.
where Stroll went off too, right? During qualifying.
Yeah, it's where Stroll went off. Let's see, and
Lewis.
then yeah, a few laps later, Leclerc. Obviously, that was a different situation, but
Sure,
yeah,
sure. Yeah,
that's
yeah.
that kind of like bowl like turn there. So I don't know. The whole track just seems like a roller coaster ride,
Yeah,
Zandvoort, doesn't it? Like
so
it's a lot of like ups and downs and like these kind of weird banking turns.
yeah, I feel like it's got to be something very different for the drivers, obviously.
Yeah,
I feel like because it was off the calendar for ages, right? And then they brought it back
yeah. From
like three
like
years ago or something.
like Nicky Lauda was like the last person that won there prior to like Max winning in 2022 or whatever
Yeah.
it was.
So it's kind of interesting. Like, I wonder what the driver consensus is. Like, we love it here, or is
Yeah.
this just, posterity? Like, I wish they would bring, I mean, obviously they proved that like the Nürburgring was just too dangerous.
Like the Nordschleife, yeah, but
Yeah.
like the regular track, Nürburgring track, I think is awesome. I'd
Yeah.
love to see that, you know, come
I think it was
come
COVID,
back.
right? Didn't they go there during COVID?
Oh, did they?
Weren't they at Nürburgring?
I know they did some weird things during
Yeah, they
COVID.
did like Mugello. I believe, I feel like Nürburgring was on there, like 2020, 2021.
That
Anyway,
whole
I'll
dude,
fact check that
that
later.
whole section of my life feels like a black hole a little bit in some ways.
Totally.
It's like a weird thing that happened. That's actually the year that I moved to New York as well, and
Oh,
yeah,
really?
that was a strange year.
Oh,
Like
well, I
so,
had
it's
no idea you'd only been in New York for the last 5 years. That's so
5 years.
funny.
Yeah, yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Just 5 years. Pretty much like this month. So
No
yeah,
kidding. Wow.
yeah. So that's like the one year that's kind of like I don't know, a bit of
Yeah.
a fuzz in
Right.
my in my head. But no, but the Nürburgring, GP track I think is awesome.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Obviously tracks like Fuji Speedway in Japan. There's so many like great historic tracks that they've run that are just off of the calendar now, that I feel like would maybe be better served on the calendar because there's some tracks, and I think Zandvoort is one of them that kind of feels like the cars have outgrown them a little bit.
Well, that's kind of where I was sort of going because it's like with this lack of aero next year, I wonder how that would affect a track like this.
So maybe it'll play right back into the hands of tracks like this. Like
Right.
if their cars are just a little bit smaller, they can be next to each other and amongst each other a little bit easier. Yeah, then maybe it will make sense.
Yeah.
If there's a handful of tracks like this that feel like okay, and all the lap times are, like a minute 8, a minute 7.
Right.
There's they're kind of short tracks, and it's the Red Bull Ring is maybe one of them as well.
Mm-hmm.
Monaco is one, of course, that you always talk about, and it's like it's there because of its history in the sport and all
Right.
that kind of
Right.
stuff. But you could throw half a dozen other tracks that are in a similar vein that you'd be like, well, why aren't these still on the calendar? I would love to see Kyalami come back. I feel there's all kinds of great tracks out there that this like regulation set have been like it's good for some and not good for others. So yeah, I have no idea what it's going to be like with this new cars next year, the smaller cars.
Yeah.
If they're not going to change the track set, then hopefully it's much better for cars kind of being next to each other and racing right next to each other.
Yeah. 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 Totally. How did Hajar find the speed during qualifying?
I feel like this has been kind of a slow build up for him, and he has looked like just kind of stronger and stronger throughout the season.
Mm.
And especially when look back at the first race of the season.
He
He's
didn't even
got
start, didn't
he's
he?
got Hamilton's
Right.
dad comforting him because
Right.
he's out. Like it was kind of like, oh boy, what is this gonna, what is this gonna be like? And the just consistency of growth that we've seen from him has been really impressive, and I think he's really uh, the most impressive rookie driver on the grid right now. And I
Yeah.
think I think they're all really talented. Bortoleto has looked fantastic at once Sauber brought some upgrades to their car, and that team will of course be Audi next season. So it's nice to see them kind of getting into looking like a legit team for Audi, and obviously Antonelli's had his kind of ups and downs. We just talked about some of the issues that their car has had. Uh, and then Behrman, their car has been kind of all over the place, but he's shown flashes of brilliance. But boy, for this was like a weekend that it wasn't like oh, he just somehow found himself in the top five. Like from the front to back, Hajar was like on merit, on pace, right there in the
Mm-hmm.
top five, running with these guys.
Yeah.
And it's not like the race started and then the Ferrari and the Mercedes just like went right by him. Like he was hanging right there with them the entire race. And even if Lando's engine didn't decide to take a break the way that it did, yeah, he was right there. He was catching. He was 1.8 seconds away from Max. I don't think it's like out of the question that he would have been fighting for a podium anyways.
Right.
With those other two guys, because he just looked that strong all weekend.
Mm-hmm.
They talk about that car looking like just a more kind of stable car to drive. So, you know, maybe he just kind of found a sweet spot at that track and let her rip. But like, it did not. Some of the rookies, you kind of at the end of the race, you're like, oh man, how did he finish in sixth or seventh or whatever? That was not the case here. Like
Yeah.
he was there the entire time.
Yeah.
Massively impressive drive.
What are your thoughts on Oscar versus Lando? Like, are you team one or the other, or how?
I'm not really team one or the other. I feel like they are both doing the things that you need to do to
Yeah.
win a drivers'
Right.
championship. I feel like Oscar is probably slightly more consistent. They've both had like kind of just strange bad luck or good luck affect them,
Yeah.
and that'll net out even, I suppose, by the end
See,
of
I
the.
just feel
I
like
hope.
Lando is on the more negative side in the sense of that he's had worse luck, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you could maybe say that, but he's also caught some good lucky breaks as well.
Mm.
Um, Yeah, I don't know. It would be interesting. Like you could go back every race and kind of make a mark of like, and it would be like something. And some of the things some of the bad luck things are his own fault,
Sure.
like pushing a little too hard when he doesn't need to, or trying to make a move like in Canada, and it bites him in the rear. Like it's like, but he's that kind of driver that's going to kind of maybe push things a little bit over to the edge.
Yeah.
Whereas as Oscar just has this like methodical buildup
Right.
and he's just so consistent and good. Like this weekend, Lando was in front of him almost every part of the practice and the qualifying until the very end of qual. It's like Oscar put all the pieces together slowly, methodically, and then brought it all together exactly when he needed to. But to your point, maybe it's a gust of wind that catches him off the off the back straight, and that gives him the thousandth of a second that he needed for pole position. I don't know, but he like does the right things to put himself. Luck favors the prepared,
Yeah.
or whatever. Like, and he's prepared all the time. It
Yeah,
seems
I
like.
feel like he just drives it like a simulator. He's not really, you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah,
it seems.
yeah. Lando's like a little more exciting, right? You're like, what's
Well,
gonna
he
happen
has
with
more.
this guy, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's abundantly clear. Lando exceeds the personality that of Oscar. I feel like it just there's more
If you like
life.
that kind of thing, yeah.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
less like a calculator, more like a guy writing on a chalkboard 2 + 2. You know.
Yeah, which is weird because the guy that's his mentor and manager, Mark Webber, was definitely more like Lando,
Lando.
a
Yeah,
bit of a
totally.
hothead in him, all that kind of stuff, and yeah, Oscar is just even keel throughout, and I think that's like the kryptonite for Lando, who is kind of always maybe a little all over the place or whatever. Like if Oscar in equal machinery is just always prepared, always steady, always consistent, luck's gonna favor him.
Yeah, I feel like if you're in Lando's shoes, like hypothetically, the beginning of the season, you and your brain are like, okay, I'm the number one guy. And, it's a lot of people in business and sport, they'll say like it's easier to get to the top than to stay there. Cause then, and if you're Lando, I don't know. There's just something viscerally in me that feels like he's just like trying too hard to win as opposed to just, dude, just go drive the car. Do what you do. Like,
Yeah.
stop trying to win. Because if you just drive, you will win. Or at least stand maybe a slightly better chance. And I feel like he's kind of, I don't know if it's a chip on his shoulder or just like he's constantly looking over his shoulder, it seems, at Oscar. Whereas Oscar's just like, again, he could be in a simulator. We'd never know. He's
Yeah.
just like, you
he's
know?
just rolling through, and
Yeah.
it's such a shame that the engine failure had him at Zandvoort. You never want to see things kind of end like
Yeah,
that,
it's
or the
just totally
championship
stripped
decided
away.
by things
Yeah.
like that. Like that sucks. I still think that Oscar probably would have won the race.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think, as good as the midfield has been or whatever, like we've also had some great battles out front. Like
Hmm.
they have gone down to the wire, and I definitely want to see more of that kind of stuff
Yeah.
going in. And, looking at those two as drivers, we already talked about going into next season, all the uncertainty there. Like, there's no guarantee that,
Hmm.
like, oh, well, they're just going to be right back dominating next year again. I think both of these drivers need to have this. Like, this might be my only shot at a drivers' championship ever. Um,
Yeah.
and they're both super talented or whatever, but obviously it's a whole team game. And the car has to be on point. Your team has to be on point. A lot of things have to be on point
Yeah.
for you to get that. And they have all that running for them right now. There's no guarantees that that's all going to be there. Going into the next regulation set.
Is this going to be Lewis's last stand? Is it these last, whatever, 2 years? Is next year his
Uh,
last year?
I think he'll hold out to see just how the again, like, let's take a step back. I don't think that this regulation set, which has been very like heavy in aerodynamic and prioritizing like aerodynamics, efficiency, the floors of the car are like his driving style for whatever reason just does not seem to have gotten along with this regulation set at any point in time.
Right.
Like, yes, he's won a race or two here and there. He's had some good results, all that kind of stuff. But like, just his driving style, it just does not seem to suit this kind of car. And he's a guy that I think does really well in these kind of smaller cars that you can kind of race. I mean, if you go back and watch races from 2008, 9, 10, 11, you get that sense of it's such a different experience from watching a race now. I mean, especially if you go back to 2008, you're still refueling. You might stop in and get a drop. Like, that changes the complexion of how these races unfold. Like, it just in huge ways. Where now it's like, okay, track position is everything. And they've
Hmm.
got fuel for the whole time, and the tires last so long. So it's just kind of like, okay, well, you try and get your track position, and you hold out there. But there are huge chunks of the race that are just spent like managing your tires and your energy systems and staying out of the dirty air and that kind of stuff. So it really feels like the races boil down to these just kind of maybe small handful of moments, and the cars are mostly really reliable these days. So we rarely see things like that happen with Lando, and I just don't think that like suits like him and his driving style as well as things had in the past.
Yeah, I think
Unfortunately.
he's somebody who doesn't need to rely on the mechanical grip necessarily, or like rely on the technology, as so to speak. I think his natural ability is what got him there. And it's
Yeah.
just funny you're talking about like the tire management thing is like I've always sort of laughed to myself when you have the engineer tell, okay, all right, push, Lewis, push. And it's like, how is he not pushing? You know what I mean? Like, I thought all these
Yeah.
guys should be pushing all the time, like for
Yeah, and
72 laps or whatever it is.
yeah, that's why I think, if they made tires that were just like worse,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
that would force like, okay, maybe these guys are in 3, 4, or 5 times in a race, but they need to be because they need to be keeping this pace up. And that's kind of how it would feel back when, okay, we need to come in and get like a liter of fuel or something. So it's just going to be a real quick type of thing. I want that kind of vibe back. Now when you hear them talk about, well, we want to do more sprint race structures and just have shorter races. And like, they're trying kind of to artificially drum up the drama in ways. So, I think there's discussions to be had around that. But at the same time, we've lost something with just the cars racing like in side by side, and that's like a skill that some of these old timers have that you just don't see. You see it more in Formula 2 now. Like, if you watch some of the Formula 2 races, they're really exciting, and you do see a lot more of that. And you'll see a guy that was in 12th come up in finish in third or in first or something like that, like within the last handful of laps, because that kind of stuff can happen in Formula 2. So it's almost more exciting than watching Formula 1 just because of that. But that, like, they need to find a way to get that back in Formula 1, where cars can be kind of
This is
mixing it up with each other.
Yeah, this is why I'm getting more into GT racing and like, the WEC races is because it's just like rubbing's racing to quote Dale Earnhardt, and it's like I love that.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. They're, you endurance racing. They changed. They went from the GTE class to the GT3 class, which was maybe technically a little bit slower, but they changed all the regulation sets to make for more competitive racing. And of course, there's a balance of power equation that's happening there, and sometimes that sucks, but like I think net out at the end of the season, you get a lot more like entertaining races.
Yeah. Yeah.
There and I'm not condoning like, oh, we need balance of power type stuff in Formula One, but
Right.
I don't know, like it's I would rather have them kind of bring the cars back into this realm of that's closer to like the Formula Two cars, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know how they do that because now they're just so aerodynamically sensitive and I have a feeling that within a couple of years of the new regulation set, the manufacturers will just find new ways to to manage the outwash of air over the car that's going to create the dirty air and get us back into the same just because that's how the car is fastest.
Right. Sure.
And then we'll be right back in the situation. So that's why next year, like when nobody really knows, that could be like the most exciting year that we get of all of it. And I hope it is.
Just give me a V10 engine, please. Like
Yeah.
just let it happen.
And
That's
it
what
does
we
seem
want.
the sentiment on that does seem like it's been shifting, doesn't it?
I think so. And I think it's if we can't even personally have a car that sounds like that, then let me watch it on TV at least. Because, with the announcement of even Porsche saying like, the combustion engines of like the Boxster and the Cayman are gone. It's like, okay. So now we as consumers can't even have this stuff. So why not make the race cars have it?
Yeah, it's tough coming from a brand like that. You'd rather see all that kind of stuff mandated with like the Civics and Accords of the world, not the
100%.
handful of Caymans that are out there. I don't know, like comparatively,
Sure. Yeah.
to cars like that. But yeah, like put the resources into developing like a cleaner fuels and more efficient fuel. Whatever it is. I don't know.
Well, I know Porsche's doing that too. I mean, they're developing their own fuel, but like it's just kind of one of those things where like I don't know a single race fan that would be opposed to a V10 being back in a Formula One car. Not one.
Yeah, certainly not. I do feel like the conversation has shifted more to okay, let's maybe take a couple of races out of the season. Let's put some resources into developing these types of fuels for these engines, and then they just need to get the frame back into kind of a slightly smaller size, but still keep it safe, of course, for the drivers. And then we'd really have something.
So we add a halo to like a 2007.
Well, like look, all the material sciences, all that kind of stuff, all the like how things have developed.
Yeah.
I don't know. Surely we can make it happen.
Right.
All you need to do is just look at the cars of today next to a car from 2006, 2008, whatever, and it's like, oh my goodness, let alone a car from 1975, 1982 or whatever.
Back to the Lewis thing. I keep forgetting he's 40. I keep thinking he's like 36 years old.
Yeah. Do you think he's still capable? Like, is that like the reaction time, the skill, the all that's required? Like, is that still there?
I think the motivation is what's disappearing. I don't know that it's the ability.
But I mean, dude, it is for me too. But I can't run a 5K as fast as I did when I was 33,
Sure.
25, whatever.
Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, really, it's just coming down, honestly, to like reaction time for him.
Yeah.
I think, as far as like reflexes go, and there's something that tells me that his reflexes are probably fine. The gas pedal's still on the right and the brake is still on the left, and I don't think he's lacking strength. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
and he has no kids, so he's not slower because of that.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, I mean, and look, it's. I know there's a lot of drama that surrounds all that team and all that kind of stuff, but like
Yeah.
by and large, he and Leclerc are not separated by that much.
No.
And I know that Lewis is generally more of kind of like a, well, let's test out different setups, different this and that. That's just kind of like how he works, because he's not like, well, this is good enough, and that'll get to like. I think he's always looking for something that would like give him
Hmm.
that age, and most of the time, I think maybe that doesn't work out for him.
Right.
And the car
Right.
is different or weird or slow or whatever it is. Um, and I feel like we saw that same thing at Mercedes as well. But if he's in this different mindset, like I said, Zandvoort, he was right there.
Yeah.
He looked great right up and right up until a weird turn three.
So we got Monza this weekend.
Yeah.
Um, I like this track. The Tifosi is obviously something I enjoy.
Yes. What do you think of the livery that Ferrari just unveiled?
I haven't seen it.
For their car?
I'm
Have you
going to be
seen it?
complete. I just hosted my parents here at my house for the last week, and I've been up since 5 a.m. because I had to take them to the airport. I missed that reveal, to be completely blunt. Let me look
It's
it up right now.
you gotta look it up. You got.
Ferrari Monza livery.
I
This is
think it looks
riveting
kinda cool.
conversation for you listening.
I
Sorry.
think it's look.
Okay, so we got yeah, this looks good. What I don't know. Do you not like it?
No, I like it. And I think that I like the wheel, like those wheel covers that have like the old school 5-spoke design on them. I would kill to have those kind of wheels back on the cars. I love those small wheels, big fat chunky tires. Like, yeah, I love that.
Well, so that's where I was going. Like, was it 2004? Like Schumacher era when like all four tires almost look like they're the same size. Like, I mean, at
Yeah, there's like
quick
a square
glance.
setup, and they did at a stint there at where they had the groove tires.
Right,
So
right.
there was no slick.
I think those are Bridgestones, weren't they? Or maybe not.
Yeah, this is before the era of Pirelli
Yeah,
dominance
yeah, yeah, yeah.
through all of it. Yeah,
I like this livery a lot, actually.
yeah,
Yeah,
I do
this is
too.
cool, and I like the shade of red they've been using. Um, it's not
Yeah.
really Scuderia red. It's almost a Fiorano red,
It's like a Fiorano red. Yeah, yeah.
which I enjoy.
And unfortunately, Lewis got hit with a 5-place grid penalty for Monza because he didn't sufficiently slow under double yellows before the even race started this past week in the Netherlands. So add insult to injury there for that one.
Yeah, I think I don't know. It just feels like people want him out of the sport for some reason. I just
Yeah, I don't. I feel like I like watching him. I like him in the sport, honestly.
I do too.
I think he's a positive force. And I think he is, I think it's to the benefit of everyone.
Sure. Well, and his desire to get better and better and better, to your point 3 minutes ago, where like, oh, this is good enough for now kind of thing. And it's not like he's looking for a competitive edge in the sense of like teetering on finding a loophole. It's really just like we can always get better, always get faster. We
Yeah,
can
it's
be
always get
better.
better, especially in this aerodynamic. Like I feel like there's always some weird suspension tweak or
Yeah.
downforce. There's like something that he's trying to like mess with, especially since the car isn't dominant.
Mm-hmm.
Like I don't think that it matters to him if he's in like fourth versus seventh or something. Like he's gonna try everything he can do if he's not in first to
Mm-hmm.
like get the car back up in that great window.
And why wouldn't you? You
And
know,
why wouldn't you? Yeah.
If you're
What
in
else
this,
does he have to prove? You know?
well, not only that, but like if you are a driver, you and I would imagine are a very competitive person, and you don't
Yeah.
like losing. Like me personally, I'm a very competitive person, and I don't. Let me say this: I hate losing more than I like winning, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And that doesn't make me a sore loser. It just
Yeah.
means like, God knows, like I hate losing.
But like think of it in the context of this though, where there's 20 guys on the grid,
Yeah.
and what is losing anything that's not first? is losing not coming in the top 10, is losing not like what
Second
like I'm
place is the
sure
first loser.
right like they all must have different kind of like obviously getting a podium for like Hajar is
Yeah.
different
Yeah.
than like getting a podium for Lewis Hamilton, right?
Yeah.
Or a Charles Leclerc, who have an expectation of, no, I'm here on this team to win.
Yeah.
And I think the fans like have put that pressure on the team, and
Hmm.
rightfully so. These are the arbiters of the sport.
Yeah.
In some sense, they should always be competitive, and I think that's the standard that they have to set for themselves. But there are teams like Mercedes and like Red Bull that like are like legacy winning teams that know how, like, from every little level of their operation, know how to win.
Hmm.
So I think it's drivers like that it's podiums or nothing.
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but I've like kind of grown to like Zach Brown even more. Uh, and I
Yeah.
think maybe it's like learn because recently I learned a little bit more about like his car collection and how many race cars that guy owns, and like he's
Yeah.
really into the sport, and obviously
Yeah.
he's a driver, and I do subscribe to the Abraham Lincoln quote of I don't like that guy. I should get to know him better.
Yeah. 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 I
And
like that
like
too. Yeah.
and it's something that like ever since I heard that quote say 10, 12 years ago, I've like really tried to implement that into my life personally.
Hmm.
And like not to say that I ever didn't like Zach Brown, but it's one of those things where like I just didn't know much about him, and I was just like, I don't know, like I can see like the way he kind of mouths off with Christian Horner and the whole ping
Yeah.
pong game. I just and he was at Laguna Seca the same day I was, although I didn't know he was there. I only
Mm.
learned some stuff about him through like a YouTube video I saw that was like an interview with him.
Oh,
And
sure.
I don't know, he just seems like a pretty good guy who just really likes racing and like really wants to win, but he's not like a robot about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He does seem like a nerd about it. And I like that. I appreciate just how kind of forthcoming he seems to be.
You're
Like,
right, right.
if whoever is on the grid or whatever, you go talk to him, and he's he'll seems like, yeah, he'll talk for a while, and not
Right.
just kind of like, yeah, no, we got to do this better, this better. It's like, you can ask him things. He'll be like, well, that's why this is complicated, and this is, like, he'll get into his thoughts on it, and that feels like, it's a cheesy thing to say, but like authentic, right? Like you get to feeling
Well,
like,
human.
I feel like you could maybe sit and have a beer with him, and
Right.
like you're getting exactly what it says on the tin. Like he's not like being somebody else for the camera or shutting down for the camera, whatever. He's just like that guy,
Yeah.
you know? And I would add, he'd probably be pretty fun to have a beer with.
Yeah, no, and I think that's a very good like judgment call. Like, I mean, even if you don't drink, like just hypothetically, like the
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
the overarching
proverbial,
the proverbial beer.
Yeah.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So it's one of those things where it's like, would you have a beer with this guy? Yes or no? And like those are the yeses are the people I love to kind of hang out with.
But dude, I mean, look, like Toto, I find fascinating. He seems like
Yes.
a really interesting guy,
Yep.
and maybe not the first choice to like sit and have a beer or a coffee with,
Right.
because I'd maybe feel like, oh boy, I gotta like I gotta be on the whole time, or otherwise he's gonna, because he's like on the whole time. It's Zach Brown. It feels like, he maybe lets his guard down a little bit
Mm-hmm.
more, which I appreciate
Yeah.
about him.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so, and he knew how to push Horner's buttons as well, which was always kind of funny.
Do we know what's happening with him going forward? Have you heard anything? Any updates?
Just the like kind of broader rumors swirling that like he'll probably be back in F1 at some point, but it's gonna mean that he's gonna need like full ownership and full control or whatever it is
Yeah.
over a team.
Yeah. 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 That'll be interesting.
Would you like to see him back in F1?
I don't care. I really don't.
don't really
I
care?
could. He's literally a take it or leave it kind of person to me. Like I will not miss him, but
Yeah.
also if he's there, it's like okay, he's back. Like, you know what I would love actually for him to come back and lose. I think that would be really fun
Wow.
to
All
watch.
right. All right.
Just not because I'm like, I don't. He just seems so cocky to me, and I just don't like the arrogance.
Well, he was like the opposite almost of Zach Brown. You're kind of like, what's like, who is this guy underneath all that? Like it was always kind of like him trying to put on this
Right. There's a
show,
facade. Yeah.
right? To
Yeah.
kind of like
Yeah.
get
Yeah.
under the skin of Toto, get under the skin of the other TPs and all that kind of stuff. And it was always like a game for him. It's like, yeah, I get there's a time and place for that kind of stuff, but also like, who are you underneath
Well,
that?
he strikes me as the kind of guy who's looking for the loophole or will spend the money if he has to get a leg up. And it's like
yeah,
he's just like he just seems like the kind of guy that got in the club because he greased the doorman's palms. Like
sure,
he
sure,
wasn't.
sure.
It's just I don't know.
And there's a lot of people like that in F1. I
Sure.
think, so I think it's refreshing to get the Zach Brown types in there
Right.
that, just seem like real people.
Yeah.
I say all this. I don't know him personally. I don't,
Right.
maybe he's a piece of crap. I don't
Right.
know. But he doesn't come off like that. And I
Right.
enjoy listening to him talk just because he
Yeah.
is
Yeah. Yeah.
so just forthcoming and seemingly transparent.
Totally. Yeah. 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 For
So,
sure. All right. Who's gonna win the championship?
um,
Mid-season
I,
now. I mean, just past mid-season.
I think Oscar's got it on lockdown.
Yeah, I agree.
Honestly. And Lando seems like a guy that really operates with a little bit of momentum. Like he needs a little bit of momentum, and when he gets some momentum going the other way against him, it like affects him all the more
Mm-hmm.
for some reason.
Yeah.
So uh,
A vibes guy.
I dearly hope that it does come down to like the last race, though. Like I would really like to see Lando get it real close. And yeah, I have no like stake in it. I'm not a betting man or anything like that.
Yeah.
And I have no like ill will towards any of these. Whoever wins it, it's good for them. Like
Yeah.
he's capable of it and he's driving up to his potential. It stinks because like seasons past, there are drivers that are capable of doing it. They have the pace, they have the speed, and just for whatever reason or another, like couldn't bring it all together when they needed to, and couldn't
Yeah.
bring home the championship. And it's always somebody.
Yeah.
But one guy's got to win, and I think it's going to be Oscar this year.
Yeah.
I think the third place will be the more interesting. With Max, George, Leclerc potentially. I think that could really turn into a nice little battle.
I mean, selfishly, I want Charles to just continue to excel in the sport. And I mean, I would love for him to win a championship, right? Like not just for Ferrari, but just for him. Cause I genuinely think he's like a good dude. Like he doesn't
Yeah.
strike me as like a jerk. He's, but also like, it's not like documented very well either. I don't think that he's just like always training, always testing, like it's just not to say that there's no work ethic there, but I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like it's not
Yeah.
forward facing of like, I don't know, cars,
He's got a lot. He's talented. He's just like one of those innately talented guys. And maybe one of the best qualifiers, like pure pace qualifiers of a generation. Um, so yeah, it would be nice to see him get a team and a car that's like capable of like really consistently throughout the season being at the pointy end of the stick, and I would love it if Ferrari is that next season, just to see him and Lewis like really push each other.
right?
And honestly, I think Lewis would be a big benefit for Charles. Like, hey, he's been there, he's done this, he can be that kind of a teammate, and I think Lewis would be that kind of a teammate. Especially if he just doesn't quite have that extra tenth or so that Charles has, then I think Lewis would fall into this like, all right, like whatever I can do to help, like let's get us there.
Yeah,
Or maybe they're just like locked in on pace together, and we get another great season that's kind of like the McLaren guys. I don't know.
God, that'd be so sick.
But they're the two drivers that are like capable of being that, right? Like I don't know who's going to be in that second seat next year at Red Bull, or if the car is even going to be any good. But like,
Yeah,
if you look across the grid at the other teams, maybe like Antonelli would have to take a big leap. But like, there's really only a couple of teams that have drivers that are like world championship capable drivers together. And I think Ferrari is one of them.
well, and I also think Ferrari's just the best team for the sport. I don't know why I'm saying this. Maybe it's just history, I guess. But like when Ferrari's doing well, I think F1 at large is doing well.
It's the soul of the sport,
Right.
Like it's nice to see them win a few races a season, and do well. Yeah, I mean when Charles won Monaco and then won Monza after, like that like it felt good, even
Yeah.
if you're not like a Charles fan or whatever, like it's kind of like okay, that feels right. you
Yeah,
know
and it's not even like an underdog story. It's just like sometimes it's cool to see the hometown win.
yeah,
Like it's a home game, the home team should win, right? Like losing at home just sucks.
yeah, it
By the way,
sucks.
did you catch that Carolina game over the weekend with Bill Belichick? They got
I did not. Chapel Bill, they're calling
TCU
him.
mopped the floor with them, man. That was
I
crazy.
did, I did, I did see that happened. It's honestly this past weekend was like the convergence of all of these things.
Yeah,
F1 came back. I really like tennis, and the U.S. Open
U.S. Open.
is producing some pretty good matches. We're kind of like in the thick of that right now,
Are you
as we
going?
speak. No, I'm not going to any matches this year.
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to. It's a lot of fun to go to these. And then of course college football
Yeah.
started back up, and then the F1 season six. So it's like all of these things. My wife was like, "Oh, great, it's just sports all week, all weekend." And
Can
of course, when
ESPN please just like can we change the channel?
we just chill, it's when the European races are on, it's like okay, you can get up early and have the race stuff on.
Right.
And then noon, you can switch over to like college football if you like that kind of stuff. And then like there's tennis matches on throughout the throughout the day.
Yeah.
I'm not like a diehard football like I'm a sports guy where I've got to have it on all day. Like I'm really not that
Yeah,
that
me
kind of
neither.
guy.
I just the only reason why I had that UNC thing on my brain is because I'm from North Carolina, obviously. So it's like it was kind of a big deal. But like,
So how do you feel?
at the end of the day, I really couldn't care less.
I mean, look, like this is forever a basketball school, obviously in my
Totally,
brain, in my head.
100%.
And again, I'm not Mr. Sports guy, but just like when I think of North Carolina, you know, it's Jordan, it's the light blue, it's it's all the championship. Like it's basketball through and through.
Yeah, and I'm still shocked Bill Belichick went there. Anyway, this is a sharp left turn from Formula One, but I apologize.
Who do you like this week? Who do you like to win? Who are you thinking?
At
Do you
Monza,
think it's going to be for Monza and for the drivers' championship?
I mean, I think Leclerc could be sneaky. I mean,
And
but
get one in there
but
at Monza? Yeah.
I mean, look, I actually really like Lando, and I think his personality is somebody. He's another guy I would love to have a beer with. You know what I mean? And I know
Yeah.
he's a golfer, so selfishly, I'd love to go play golf with him. Him and like Carlos Sainz would be like so much fun to go golfing with.
Yeah.
But it's like there's just like part of me that kind of wants to see Oscar like get crashed out by Lando.
Wow.
like not get injured or anything, but just
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
just let the others through. You know what I mean? Like just
Yeah.
like allow it to be a race kind of thing. And then I think it would be great to see Charles like overtake Verstappen on like
There are guys that are capable of putting in like magic laps.
yeah.
Sometimes Leclerc is certainly one of them. Max, obviously we saw him do it at Suzuka earlier this year, a race that he probably had no business winning, but he did. And I think those opportunities are going to present themselves.
Yeah.
Because of the aerodynamics again on these cars, it's like you need to be like a second and a half faster than the car in front of you to like just pass on pure pace up at the front. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would love to see Charles get one in there for the home team
What do
or
you
Lewis.
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, look, you can really never count Lewis out. Like it's
Yeah,
not like you're just like, oh yeah, of course he's going to be in ninth place. But
dude, and
he's had some unfortunate events where
he had
he's
some
finished outside of
unfortunate
the top
events.
10.
Yes,
So
that's a good way to put it. But you never know. Like this track, turn one and two are. It feels like too tight for modern F1 cars.
well, this is where I was
at
going.
Monza.
You always got to give
So it's
a
like
place
who knows
back.
what happens.
Yeah, yeah. I was actually going to mention this is because of that first sector, right? Like
Yeah.
somebody's always giving a place back, and it's just kind of, that makes it exciting, but also kind of eye rolling at times as well. I think the
Yeah.
cars are too long.
They are. They're too long. They're too big. And there's some views when they're going through that first chicane complex at Monza, and then even the second chicane kind of up around the bend. Both are pretty tight. And when you see kind of two or three cars kind of in there, it's like, oh my gosh, Yeah,
Mayhem.
it's like it is like mayhem. So, with that in mind, it's like, yeah, I don't know. Like, who knows what'll happen going in. I've been surprised though this season, like turn one at Spa is another one where it's all kind of just like, and you're turning right back around.
Yeah.
And they all surprise me. They all get through cleanly. Like they
Yeah.
all know, like, okay, well, we're gonna back off here, leave this space there.
So I went to Laguna Seca during car week just for the one day, and it was funny because there was an F1 display, and it was like kind of every era of car was sort of out there, and it was unbelievable. First and foremost, second of all, last year's McLaren championship winning car, I think it was Lando's car that was on display. I mean, I don't know the exact measurement, but I think they're like 16 feet long or something like that.
Um,
I don't know how long are these cars. I was
boy,
like,
that sounds really long.
yeah. And so the point being is like I remember I think the wakeboard boat that I used to ride behind in high school was like 16 feet. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
how long is a?
18.5 feet.
Okay, so here we go.
Oh,
18.5. You said.
yeah, 5.63 meters for
Yeah.
the rest of the world.
I
Yeah.
feel like that's longer than the original like Malibu wake setter boat that I used to wakeboard behind.
Yeah, all I know is we've got a Lund 16-footer fishing boat up at the Wisconsin house. Man, 18 feet.
Yeah.
And that almost sounds like
It almost
that
sounds
sounds
like
insane
like it's
saying it
made
like
up. Yeah.
that. Oh my gosh. That's too long, man. And like, look, if you look at the front noses, like they stick way the heck out there.
Okay, a
And
Malibu wake setter boat from 1997 is 20 feet long. So it's a foot and a half difference.
right there, right there.
Like that's
Oh my
insane.
God. It's okay. We've gone too far. We got to dial it back. We got to we got to
I
dial it
mean,
back
even
with
to
these
say a
things.
car being 14 feet long is long. I mean, and that's 4.5 feet shorter than current.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I've alluded to the fact that next regulation set they are going to be smaller cars, but on order of like inches,
Yeah.
not like 3 feet or something. Like they'll be all around a little bit smaller, but still generally quite large.
Right.
Oh, what are we even doing? Oh my
Well, I mean,
goodness.
put things in perspective. My 911 is 14 feet
Yeah.
long, which is, I believe,
And that has
seven.
like a bit of overhang in the nose
Yeah,
section.
it's 177 inches long, I think. And what's funny is it's 7 inches longer than my GTI.
Okay,
Isn't that
okay.
crazy?
But the GTI has like almost no overhang, right? Over the front
Not
wheels and all
really.
the
No, no. Yeah, actually, I think
and its chassis is pretty squat.
yeah, I think the wheelbase is about the same. The width of my two cars is like within an inch identical, which is
Interesting.
kind of funny too. Yeah.
They got to figure it out, man. They got to get these things back down. I don't know. So, did you see anything else cool at Laguna Seca? Did you see the Corvette CX concept things?
I didn't see the Corvette. I saw the Pagani that was racing around. That was
Oh, cool.
crazy.
Yeah.
I saw a lot of like the older cars. You know, what's crazy, it was just funny to see like Dario Franchitti was racing alongside Jeff Gordon in like the IROC sort of
Yeah, yeah,
series.
yeah.
That was really cool. I saw the Fat International Porsche racing around, which was super cool.
Nice. Yeah.
A slew of 911s, name a year, basically.
Yeah.
That was cool. What else did I see that I was like really, really into? I'm drawing a blank right now. Sadly, the F1 sort of exhibition, if you will, or whatever, the race, was kicking off just as I had to leave. So I didn't get to see any of those guys run, but that would have been really, really cool. Like most events, when you're only catching a sliver of the event, you're always like, man, I wish I had more time. And it was just
Yeah, it's
that
always-
feeling times 100. It was like, man, I really just wish I had more time.
It's always something with
Yeah.
those, and those are sprawling events. And did you do anything else in Monterey, or
I
you get
mean,
to do a walkthrough, any of that kind of stuff?
no, I was straight to the track and straight home, quote unquote. My in-laws live in Palo Alto, so I
Okay.
just did a day trip by myself while my wife and daughter were hanging out with the grandparents. So that was cool. I mean, it
Nice.
was good to see them, go out to dinner, that kind of thing, but nothing,
Yeah, yeah.
nothing local to that area of Monterey, or the peninsula, if you will. What about you? Did you do anything like personally over the last, say, month?
No, man, I've been well, there's been a lot of events like in New York that are starting to kind of like ramp back up with watch brands and stuff. So I've been doing a lot of that and kind of, you show up, you want to see the people and maintain the relationships, all that kind of stuff. And yeah,
Yeah.
there's a lot of like genuine like friends that you make, of course, and all that. So that's nice.
Sweet.
But I'm just about to kind of start coming into a season of more stuff. I'll be in Canada in about a week, and then
Okay.
going over to Amsterdam, and then London, and then maybe pop out to
Nice.
San Francisco. So there's a kind of a lot in the hopper right now. So
Sweet.
which is great, but it's like again with like this fall, I like just being kind of camped in at home. Yeah,
Yeah.
because I live right next to Prospect Park, so I'm out there like all the time in the morning, and it's been great to like have the stability over the past like 6 weeks to get back in the habit of running and just doing normal stuff instead of being on the go all the time. It takes a toll on your body, man.
Yeah, and New
You
York
don't
in the fall
realize.
is like the best. I mean, it's
It's
the absolute
amazing.
best.
Wesley, as always, my friend, awesome sitting and chatting with you about F1 stuff and more. Thanks so much for making the time, dude.
Absolutely. Folks, stay tuned for Mazda. Stay tuned for Monza this weekend. Super excited to see how Charles fares, and yeah, I guess the next one will probably be in a month or so, I guess.
Yeah, we'll get back on it. See, you have Laguna Seca still on your brain, the Mazda
Yeah, yeah,
Laguna
yeah, yeah,
Seca.
yeah. Weather tech. Yeah.
Nah, don't call it weather tech to me. It's a Mazda.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
Well, now Porsche's got some advertising stuff going on in there.
All right, I like to hear
They're on
that. All
the
right,
the front straight. They're like sort of, is it turn two or one? I think. Anyway, great to see you,
love
Blake.
it, love it. Great to see you too. Thank you so much for tuning in, and until next time, take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.